Thank you.
I'll see you on that very last day. Thank you.
Your Honor, we're ready on the Dolloff, sir.
Let's go ahead and call that up as well. Give me one moment. That's going to be case number 32 on the docket, 20 CR 6007, People versus Matthew Dolloff.
Zach McCabe and Austin Leidy for the people.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Doug Richards, Kristen Frost, Medalia Maliki on behalf of the defendant who appears and is seated to my right.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Valerie Cole with the Public Defender's Office. Based on entry of private of counsel, we would seek leave from the court to withdraw.
All right. Given the new counsel, there could be a substitute counsel. And Ms. Cole, I'll allow you to withdraw. Thank you. All right, and you're muted right at the end, but I presume that was anything more than I needed to know. Go ahead.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Cole, thank you for being ready to proceed. That'll work. New counsel has entered in the case. I know we're set for preliminary hearing today, but I also know that new counsel entered, I think, yesterday. There's a side issue I need to talk about in the long run. Actually, we should probably start with that. I think defense counsel knows this. Ms. Maliki and I are both coaches on the DU Law School trial team. We coach different squads. I've looked into that. It's not a grounds under the judicial canons that requires disqualification, so to speak, but it's an issue. Certainly, I think it could potentially cause issues or concerns with the people. It's not a relationship that I think would have any impact on anything that I would be doing for a preliminary hearing. But I wanted to raise it with you to see if there was any concerns from the people or a request that the matter be assigned to a different judge in the short term.
Oh, Your Honor, we're fine with you remaining on this case.
All right. Let me check with defense counsel. Any additional concerns it raises on behalf of the defense?
None, Your Honor.
All right. What we'll do then is let's look at the preliminary hearing. Let me start with defense counsel. Where do we stand?
Thank you, Your Honor. I spoke to my client about the preliminary hearing. We are asking to continue that. My client does understand he has the right to have a preliminary hearing within 35 days. He is asking to waive that as well. And I've spoken with the people, and we are asking to, I think, jointly asking to set this out into January. Perhaps middle of January would be best for everybody's calendar.
I think it makes perfect sense. Let me go to the people. Any additional record?
No, thank you.
Right. Certainly for a preliminary hearing, it makes sense to have counsel being ready to handle that matter. My preference would be not to get into the new year, to have that be more in the middle of December at the latest. But that's just not a ruling. That's just a preference. Let me check with both sides why we would want to push into January as opposed to mid-December.
Well, Your Honor, if you're asking from the defense, I mean, if the court would like to set some sort of a dispo date in December, we can do that. I'm not sure in terms of the amount of discovery to review that we will be prepared to present or be prepared for the preliminary hearing in just a month's time. So, or not even a month's time, just a few weeks. So we would be asking for more time than that. I do recognize that there's also holidays coming up with Thanksgiving this next week, and then of course the Christmas holiday. So that's why we were looking into January.
Do people have a position in terms of the date or thoughts?
Your Honor, there is a lot of discovery. There's over 800 pages of written discovery. And then there's, in addition to the videos that have already been in the public realm, there's other videos that, numerous, I mean, looking at a dozen just here in this file alone. So I would rather build in any continuances early rather than later on in the process. It is a bit, and also I share the concern that Mr. Richards raised in regard to holidays and that kind of thing. December winds up being kind of a time crunch all around. So we're okay with moving it into January, and we spoke with the victim's widow about that as well. She's okay with that.
Let me look at things. Hold on a second. let me ask, it's on a little bit on the earlier side in January, but it's setting it further down the road. Potentially would we be available January 8th for the preliminary hearing?
Is that an afternoon setting? Or, go ahead.
I'm actually set for a 35C hearing on the Lipford matter. I think we've actually asked to transfer it to 4H, but I think at this point it remains in 5D. So I couldn't be in two places at the same time, assuming that goes to hearing.
The difficulty we get into and what I'm trying to look at and avoiding is there's going to be a transition between when I'm moving out of this courtroom and Judge Whitney's coming in. And if we get past the 8th, actually technically if we get past the 11th, then we're probably looking to pushing into February before Judge Whitney is able to come on and get up to speed, because there's going to be some downtime between. He doesn't actually officially begin to the 26th, and then I know that they're not wanting to hit the ground with major cases that first week. Let me check with the parties. Is there any time January 11th or before that you think we could do this?
Speaking for myself only, I'm available January 11th. That's a Monday, I know. And then I guess I would be available on the 7th. I think that we're scheduled to resume jury trials, but I don't know if that's going to be happening or not. So anyway, Judge, I'm meandering here. I think I really just can't take the 8th. I could take the 11th. I could take the, I suppose the 1st is not a viable date.
Not a good day for most people, that's true. Let me check with the defense. And potentially, I know our sheriffs are asking us not to set in custody matters on off-docket days because they're needing to run jail visits during that time. Mr. Dolloff's not in custody. He's posted the bond. I think we could likely proceed on an off-docket day, or we could do the 11th, or if none of those days are working, we push down the road. What works best for the defense in those times?
Your Honor, I think we could try to find a time that accommodates everybody's schedule during that week of the 4th to the 8th. I understand Mr. McCabe's not available on the 8th. I have a little bit of flexibility in my calendar just because I was supposed to start a jury trial in the 18th Judicial District around that time, but there's no more trials down there, so I do have some flexibility. So I don't know what the court's thinking in terms of an off-docket day. I'd be happy to look at my calendar and confer with Ms. Frost and Ms. Maliki.
Let's take a fast look. The afternoon of the 11th does work for me, by the way, if that's available to the defense as well. But what I was thinking for off-docket dates would probably be the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and I want to make sure that I'm almost positive we're not going to be going to trial then, because I don't think the COVID situation is radically going to improve by January. But I'll let you take a look at your calendars.
And Your Honor, I just spoke to Mr. Duncan. His case is the only one that I'm aware of that's set for trial on the 5th. If there are more, the court's aware of that, but he indicated to me that he's not anticipating that trial would go the week of the 5th. And even if it did, it likely wouldn't get into the 7th. So the 7th may be clear if that's the only trial that's set to go that week.
And Your Honor, I'm going to communicate.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. If I could just have a second to communicate with Ms. Weber about the Lipford case, I may be able to make the 8th work after all.
And it looked like, going back to Mr. Leidy's point, we had a Tolliver trial and a Dawson trial. Do we know which was Mr. Duncan's?
The Tolliver case is Mr. Duncan's. I'm not sure about the other case.
Then, Your Honor, the afternoon of the 11th I know does work for all of our calendars, if that helps.
Oh, thank you. Now let Mr. McCabe follow up.
Sure. Upon further review, I think I can do the 8th. Go back to start if that works for the defense and Mr. Leidy.
That does work on my calendar.
That works for us as well.
All right. As long as we got there somehow, that'll work out. Give me a second as the fire engines go by. All right, we'll go ahead and set it for the afternoon of January 8th for the preliminary hearing. We'll vacate today's preliminary hearing, certainly. Let me come back to the defense also. Any intervening, I'm not saying that we need them, but any intervening dates that you wanted between now and then, or other issues you wanted to address today?
I don't have anything else to address today. I did, some of our entry pleadings are styled in terms of motions. We're not asking to be heard on those today. And if there's anything else that we need in the interim between now and the 8th, we can coordinate with the people and the court coordinator.
Does that work? Anything that the people, oh, go ahead.
And that's at 1:30 on the 8th?
Correct.
What did I just do?
All right, anything more for the people?
No, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience with that today. We'll go ahead and set this over for January 8th at 1:30, and we'll go ahead and vacate today and recess today, and I'll see everyone on that date.
Judge might be excused.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being available and ready to go, and we'll see everybody on the 8th. And everyone have a good holiday season. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
I think we're ready on Butler, Judge.
All right, let's go ahead and call Mr. Butler's matter.
And good afternoon, Your Honor. From the Denver County Judge, I'm appearing over the phone with Mr. Butler.
Oh, thank you very much. Mr. Butler's case is number 31, 20 CR 1362, People versus Christopher Butler.
Good afternoon, Judge Effie Antonopoulos, appearing for the people. Ms. Kirk is out this afternoon.
Yes, Your Honor. This is Jason Flores-Williams appearing on behalf of Mr. Butler. I've just hit my video, and it's not coming up, so they might have technical difficulties, but we're fine to proceed with me proceeding orally.
That'll work. And it may just be a connection issue, so it may kick in fairly soon.
Okay.
That'll work. You're coming through loud and clear verbally. We're set for a jury trial December 8th in Denver because of the COVID situation. All jury calls have been canceled, so we need to address that situation. But where do we stand today?
Yes, Your Honor. I want to make this, I don't want to jump in front of my colleague, but I want to make this very easy because we haven't